Welcome back to Marshy's Corner. Before we get into what this episode's all about, I just want to say if you enjoy any of the content that you've listened to on my platform, please like, subscribe, share, do whatever you can. Any sort of support is great support, and it goes a long way, more than you could know. People subscribing, liking, sharing the podcast. That's what it takes for me to, continue leveling up just a little bit, continue getting great guests on, and just turning this into something, which would be pretty cool. And, I'm pushing to get some sponsorships and whatnot. And, hopefully once that starts happening, I can get it's kind of a snowball effect. You can start to, maybe do giveaways and whatnot. And, turn this into something pretty cool, I think. But until then, we're going to keep grinding it out each week. And speaking of staying on the grind, my goal was to have a show out for each week of the finals. Did last week with Mark Geyer, and shout out to that guy still, man. That episode was so good. And it's still relevant. Like it was week one of the finals, but we talked about the finals in general and way, way more. So if you want to listen to an old rugby league head that, used to play this great game that we love, and has a million stories and is just great for a yarn, it's a lot of fun. So go listen to that. But for this week, I was actually invited onto a podcast, and that was going to be my show for the week. But it fell through. So I, was like, well, do I just let this week pass, or do I try and bring something together? And not only have I just brought something together, I think I've brought together something great. Shout out. We're just going to do an extended couple of casuals. So I got 3 casual fans that are going to come talk to a fellow casual fan, myself. And so I just want to say a huge shout out to Matt Hurley, Matt Gilbert, and Max. Just a couple of legends that have hopped on a few legends that have hopped on the podcast to not just talk about their team. So I got Matty Hurley, who's a Roosters fan. Obviously his team got bounced this week. I got Matty Gilbert. He's back from last week. He did such a great job. Had to give him the call back. His Canberra Raiders beat the Melbourne Storm, so we're going to talk about that. And I got Old Faithful, my guy Max Thompson, coming in, the guy that I watch all the Broncos games with. We're going to talk about how sad it is to not see our guys in the finals, and how we think they could have gone and whatnot. And on top of talking about all of their teams, we're also just going to talk some footy in general, because that's what happens. I hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe. Enjoy.
Is that better?
Yeah, no, that's good. All right, you ready to hop into it?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Matty Hurley, what an honour.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for hopping on to just a couple of casuals talking footy. How was your day?
It was good. I had work early this morning. Started work at 3:30.
What do you do for work? Let us know.
I work at Eagle Farm Racecourse at the moment, so it's all like the track and grounds stuff. So getting all the stuff ready for race days and whatnot. But every morning they got track work and that, where they train all the horses, and some of the roles that we have is more of a health and safety thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do the early shift this morning, which is usually every Thursday. Yeah.
Early start. I'd actually like to talk about your work for a second. So Matt obviously works at the race course, and he likes to think that he has a little bit of inside info on horses when it comes to punting. And I've actually followed Matt's advice 3 times when it comes to betting on horses. I'm not one to bet on horses very often because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm yet to win any of my bets.
I think that goes for a lot of people
too. Mad. So you're obviously. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, just so the wider public gets to know you. So obviously, this is what you do for work. What do you do? Do you study? Hobbies? Things of that nature.
So studying at the moment. Nearly finished a degree in high school teaching.
Jesus.
So doing PE and business.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to be responsible for the youth of the next generation. Great.
Yeah. That's a good call. And Zach Hughes. Zach Hughes is doing
that's worse.
He's doing better than me. He's on his last placement and I'm not. So.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, so doing that at the moment, that's been going for, this has been my 5th So I've only got my last placement to go, and then hopefully can knuckle down a job there and get straight into it. So then I'll leave the racetrack. I've been there for a while. But other than that, uni. Play a bit of OzTag, like you know.
Elite OzTag player.
Do you want to say so?
Oh, well, just took an A grade men's final off me. Actually, well, I didn't even get through to the semis, so. But so that was annoying having to watch that final. We played pretty bad in the semis.
Yeah, what was the final score on that?
I don't know. I think we lost by 2 maybe, but we just didn't. I don't know what we were doing. Actually, to be fair, like the majority of our team was sick and weren't even going to play, and we just kind of had to talk everyone into coming down. And from the start, you could kind of just tell that we weren't really ready to go. But you guys played pretty well. But we got new season starts tonight, and we've got we've got some recruits. So
yeah, we've pretty much got the same team. We've got I think 2 new recruits for ours. But yeah, pretty keen.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited. I've added, we've got another Marshman in there. So I thought if we add a few more of those, we might look a little bit better. And pretty keen for the new season to start. But let's get into the team you support. You're currently wearing every other team you support other than them. So I was wondering whether you were going to put a jersey on or something, but
I do have a training shirt actually. Yeah. You can change into that if you want.
No, you're good. So you've always got the Boston shirt on. Let's talk about the Celtics for a second. How are you feeling going? Well, actually, for starters, how'd you feel at the end of last season?
Devastating, but at the same time happy because as you know, I am a Steph Curry fan. So
yeah, it was definitely a bittersweet one for you.
Yeah, I was like, if the Celtics win, then I'll be sad for Steph because I wanted to get another ring, but also being a Boston supporter, I wanted them to win.
Yeah, and that was your window, and now it's done.
Yeah, I don't know. Malcolm Brogdon is
huge pickup.
He'll be killing it off the bench.
It's a huge pickup.
Tatum MVP this year for sure. Get on. If you want to tip, that's back that now.
Have you put that on yet?
I haven't personally, but I think I will.
What's he paying? I wonder if I can look that up real quick. I'll do that later.
Surely he'd be like 7. He'd be in at least like top 10 to win it.
A $7? I think he might be a little bit higher. I reckon he'd be about a $9.50.
Yeah, I suppose you'd still have like Jokic, Giannis, all those guys that were running for it again last year. They'll be up there again.
Steph, one more.
Could be.
I think it might be Luka's year.
He looks fit, man. He looks pretty fit.
They just got knocked out today, though, in the Euro.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Leagues.
Didn't they lose to who's it? I don't know.
Poland? I don't know. It was a random country.
Yeah.
I haven't watched as much as I would like to have watched over in that comp, but I'm trying to bring up this MVP.
I know Giannis got knocked out too, and I think Jokic got knocked out.
Yeah, all the big names are out. It's just oh shit, what's his name? Little point guard.
Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, it's just Schroeder left, who can't even get an NBA contract.
One of the Celtics greats.
Tatum's $14. So
wait, that's a good price.
That's not bad. Luka's number 1 at $5. Tatum at $14 is not bad at all. Anyway, so let's talk about the actual team that we're meant to be talking about. You go for the Roosters.
I do.
Tell us about your fandom. How'd that start? Where'd that come from? Because you're wearing a Queensland hat right now.
It is.
Everyone's confused.
Why I do go for Queensland, but then go for the Roosters. But I'm literally the only Rooster supporter in my family. Like my old man's a Bulldog supporter. Mum used to be Penrith, like before they got good, but I think now she's sort of slowly converting to a Rooster supporter because of how bad I watch it at home. I reckon Ashley as well. She's gonna get there.
No, she's not.
No. Actually, I will tell you, there was one time we were going to watch one of the Roosters games, and she said, "What time is our team playing?" So I don't know if that if she's slowly getting there.
I love it when a friend slips that. Like, I got a mate who he lives in Australia. He moved here when he was about maybe 10, 11, and he never supports Australia in anything. So he's from Malaysia, and then he's like Indian, Irish. Anyway, anything that's Australian, he like wouldn't really latch onto. And then during the Olympics, when the Boomers were like pushing for a medal, there was a lot of talk in the group chat, and he was using a lot of wheeze when it came to the Boomers. And me and my mates were kind of talking outside that group chat, like he's saying a lot of wheeze right now. He's really just once Australia got good, he's decided to hop on. But
Yeah. Well, Roosters has been good for a while, so I think now's a good time to jump on Bash. That's for sure.
not a bad time. So how did you become a Roosters fan? Was that just you were just a kid and it just happened, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I've told people that like the first NRL game that I watched was like Roosters versus the Warriors, and obviously not being from New Zealand, I just started watching the Roosters and I've just followed them ever since. But like when I remember once I first started getting into like rugby league and that and like watching it, that was when it was like towards the end of like Brad Fittler's career, like Minicello was starting taking off. So that was when I like watching those players and just sort of stayed ever since.
Minicello, one of the guys that just was a little bit unfortunate to come through the time of Darren Lockyer, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, like most, I suppose, players at the Roosters at the moment, like you got guys like, I mean, you had Tuivasa-Sheck who started on the wing who wanted to be a fullback. You got Suaalii now who wants to be a fullback but is playing on the wing. And
probably showed on Sunday that not ready for that fullback role.
He had small glimpses, but
held the ball a lot. The ball was stuck to his hands.
Oh yeah. He definitely wanted to get a meat pie, but it didn't work.
Nah, you probably had at least one or two more tries in you if he just let go of the ball a little bit more.
Who knows? Could have been another golden point. Yeah.
That's a good little segue. Let's talk about the game on Sunday.
That's not a lot of words.
How are you feeling after it?
Look, still down about it. I think more so because we got knocked out to South. I think that's and you know my
How good did Latrell look?
I was just about to say my my suppose non-liking of Latrell at the moment.
And you know how much I like Latrell.
I do know how much. Yeah.
I was right around that game. The coolest thing about Latrell in that game was like everyone was losing their heads, and normally he would be one that would also potentially lose his head. But I felt like
I thought Cody Walker as well. Like usually, if you target both of those players, you're going to get at least something out of the both of them. But like you said, Latrell was pretty quiet. Like in a lot of the push and shoving, he didn't really get involved, and neither did Walker, to be honest.
Yeah, they kept that cool. And then did you enjoy the game? Like what it was? A lot of people are mixed on it.
I did enjoy it, but I think for 70% of the game there was players missing from the field. That sort of put a damper on it.
Yeah, no, there was obviously, I think about half the sin bins obviously probably shouldn't have been a sin bin.
Well, on top of that as well, when you think about the concussions to like Tedesco, Crichton, like they were two massive losses for them. And that's when I thought, once Tedesco got ruled out, I thought that was going to be pretty hard to come back by.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you've got like, in a game like that, you kind of want those X factor players, and Suaalii's just not really there yet at the back, and then you've got Latrell and Cody Walker who were just, they didn't get involved in the niggle, and they just kind of stayed focused. They kind of let all the forwards and the outside backs do all that shit, and then once play resumed, the game went for about 4 hours. It was like an NFL game. Those guys were kind of just still locked in and managed to get the dub.
Yeah, I was confident going into it, like considering they beat him pretty well the week before, and then getting guys like Tupou back, Suaalii back, Hargreaves didn't play a lot of minutes the week before. Radley didn't play, so I was pretty confident going into that. But...
To be fair, Radley didn't really play on the week on Sunday either.
bit more time in the bin. But yeah, it was first week of the finals. That's a bit of a rough one, and then to lose the South, so that's us.
Yeah. I guess for you as a Rooster fan, it hurts right now. But moving forward, well, actually, what do you give your season grade?
I'm sort of out of a pass or fail. I'd almost be saying fail because I think well the big one is considering where they were last year. They had no team left,
Yeah.
and we went further last year than we did this year with pretty much a full strength team. So you'd have to say that's probably more of a fail considering the talent on that roster.
Yeah, a full strength team minus Joey Manu. I was actually ready the week he got hurt to put a little bit of money on the Roosters to win the comp, which felt super dirty. But I was saying to a couple of friends, I was like, I think the Roosters might be the team to do it. And yeah, then Manu went down, and I decided to keep my money.
That was a very good decision.
Yeah, but besides Manu, obviously a pretty close to full strength side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you had Tilly did his knee, so he was gone. No Lindsay. Lindsay didn't play because of his injury, so he wasn't there. So there's still a couple of others that they missed out on. But yeah, disappointing.
It was a tough year though. I did look it up, but it was one of the toughest years to actually make the top 8. So the top 8 in general is like a high quality of footy. And so like last week I had Gaia on the podcast, and we were talking about how this year might be the year that a team can win the comp outside the top 4, and it kind of still feels like there's a chance of that.
I think so. 100%. Look at Canberra.
Well, this is the kind of, I had Matt Gilbert on the podcast last night because I'm just doing a few of these, a few of the casual fan things, and he's a Canberra Raiders fan, and Canberra's kind of just in the perfect place right now, just because they're going to dodge the Panthers in the semis. Like if they can get through this week against the Eels, and the Eels are, if you wanted to play out of the 3 teams that you potentially that are left for this week, Sharks, Eels, and South, you probably want to play Eels out of those 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah, especially who knows what's happening to Moses at the moment.
He's playing, like he's named, but even still, like, both him and Sean Lane have passed their HIAs, which feels like probably wouldn't happen during the normal season.
Go back to the Roosters game. Cameron Murray, how did he pass his? And he still, I think, like 2 or 3 knocks that game where he looked dusty as, and he still managed to play that 80 minutes.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Dirty about it,
How good was Cam Murray in that game, though?
Definitely a difference.
He's a huge difference. I was Cam Murray during that game. I've been having just conversations with mates and whatnot about who's the best prop in the game, who's the best lock in the game, and to start this season, I think Isaiah Yeo is the best lock, maybe even the best player in the comp. And then the way Taumalolo's played this season, he's kind of back in that talking spot. And then what Cam Murray can do at that 13 position, also pretty huge.
Hold on 2 secs.
No, you're good.
I don't know what just happened to my microphone. I picked up my headphone and
No, you're good. So I guess moving forward, how do you feel about your team going into next year and the future? How are you feeling as a Roosters fan?
I think confidence is still pretty high. I think still with you got that main core of players that are still there, and you got like Walker who's still developing. We are losing a couple like Takiaho. That's a massive loss, I reckon. Just like the meters he gets.
Where's he going? Oh, hello.
Sam Verrills, I wasn't sad that he was leaving to start off with, but the way that he was playing towards the back end of the year, after now that they got the cheese coming, I was like, oh, he's actually might be a bit of a loss.
He could be a loss, but yeah, you got the cheese.
You got to rate the cheese.
You got to rate the cheese. And, I mean, he had a bit of a down year this year, but I think he was pretty much like one leg out the door the whole time. He didn't look like that after Melbourne lost. But I don't know. I think it's one of those things that when you sign somewhere else, then you're kind of halfway there.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, once you sign somewhere else, you'd be content that all your contract stuff's finished, but then you're like, okay, well, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Leaving next year. What are like, those guys looking like for next season?
Yeah. Huge opportunity with him, though, because him at his best is like, it could be the best 9 in the comp.
Oh, 100%.
How have you liked Connor Watson this year?
I've liked it. I was very happy when he was coming back. I think that's, even just seeing him play, I think there's been a couple of times where he's played prop when like Jared or someone's gone off, or he's had to play lock for a bit, build in that 9th. He's like the perfect utility, I reckon. I know he's not as big as most other people, but I am a big Connor fan.
Yeah, he's got to be in the top 5 most versatile rugby league players in the comp.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like, they lost Orbison to retirement a couple of years ago, and now you got
Connor Watson, yeah. Similar mold.
I love it. Oh yeah, he can play anywhere.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
He could be a winger, 100%.
I genuinely think the Roosters are in a pretty good spot moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like, with the roster they've got for next year, they'll definitely be up there again. But I think a big reason why they struggled this year was, I reckon, the combination with the 6 and 7. Like Kiri Walker.
Yeah.
Like Kiri missed a fair bit with concussion again. Walker's still, 20, 21?
Pretty young.
So, it would have been a bit hard to actually get most of their combos right. And then actually, they're sort of the similar build as well. They're both small players, and I think easy targets in defense for those edge back rows.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm a big Lindsay Collins fan. Hopefully he's back next year and can actually get a healthy season out of him. Did you feel a little bit robbed? It's 2 years in a row that you've gone into a final series without Joey Manu.
Yeah, I know. Oh, don't get me. It's always been rough. He's the biggest danger weapon out there for the Roosters, I think. Anytime he gets the ball, the amount of tackles he breaks, his bag of tricks, anything that he can pull out of that.
And just the freedom that he plays with now, he's not stuck to that right edge anymore, and he's kind of able to float around a little bit and pop up where he wants to, and it makes the Roosters tough. And obviously losing that just out from the finals, that's a huge loss.
Yeah, massive loss. And I can't remember who I said this to, but I saw something, I think the day after he got injured in that South game, that the Roosters were thinking about resting him that night. Because, they had already made the final, so it wouldn't have made much of a difference. And because he's always had that calf issue, the back end of the year, and they were like, nah, play. And then he's done his calf. So that was
it sucks.
Gutted reading that.
Kind of sucked for everyone that was for me that doesn't have a literal horse in the race. There's no Broncos in the top 8 this year.
Weren't you there?
Which we're not going to talk about that, but and it felt so dirty, but there's just so many Rooster players that I like, that I was sitting there and I was like, out of all the teams that are making this top 8, who wouldn't I mind seeing win? And it kind of felt wrong that I was like, I probably wouldn't mind the Roosters actually.
I got some Roosters gear at home.
Aside from having to hear a whole bunch of shit from you and a few other people down at OzTag, I probably wouldn't have minded that too much. But I guess moving forward now, your team, just like mine, but basically the same now. We're not in the race for the finals anymore. Who are you backing?
I'm going the Cows. I want the Cows to win it.
Yeah?
Not like I said, I'm not a South fan. Sharkies, I wouldn't be disappointed to see him win, but I think, I sort of want to see the Cows win it. Just the footy that they've been playing all year. And I think on top of that, it'd be nice to see them win the comp after what's happened with Paul Green as well.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a feel-good story for the year for them.
No, for sure.
But, the footy they're playing and all their players at the moment are in the best form, Val, Dearden, Townsend, like you said before.
How quick was Dearden on his runaway on the weekend?
He's got some serious speed. I saw something as well. Apparently, he ran for like 11 Ks or something.
Yeah, it's the most any player's ever run or like recorded running in an NRL game.
Just imagine if he was on the Broncos roster.
Yeah, that'd be something. Ezra Mam though, I like Ezra. I don't really want to talk about the Broncos. It's pretty. You know what sucks is like I have receipts where I said I think the Broncos finished 4th to 6th, like before the season started, and everyone was like, nah, like at best like 7th, between 7th and 10th, and I was like, nah, 4 to 6. I'm telling you, we got a great team, great young forward pack that's talented. We got outside backs that are good.
What happened?
And then we were sitting 4th, and I was sitting there like, I've done it. Like I was getting ready to like, I had receipts screenshotted. I had some audio from earlier podcasts. I was like, I'm ready to go. And then it just all went down to shit. But hey, it is what it is. There's always next year. Yeah, I don't want the Cowboys to win. That's the team I want to win the least, personally.
Really?
Yeah, so like two of my best mates are like obnoxious Cowboy fans. And at this point, for me, it's like, what will be the most, will give me the least amount of emotional scarring if this team wins. And so Cowboys, like, I don't actually want to live in a world where I have to listen to these two guys talk about the Cowboys for the next, until the Broncos win a comp, because now they would have won 2 since we've won 1. And then after that, just don't really want to see the Panthers win.
It'll be, everyone knows it's going to be hard to beat them. Just like the way they played the other night against Parramatta, with like Cleary not playing for a month. Like, it'll be hard to top them.
It's tough, and they're going to be playing. They get a week off, and they're going to be playing either the Bunnies, who went through fucking World War III with the Roosters, and then or they verse the Sharks, who played a 93-minute overtime game. So both teams, and now they're about to come and have a clash. So both those teams, I feel like, are going to be carrying injuries, carrying fatigue.
Yeah, maybe possibly suspensions. You never know.
Oh, well, Burgess is out for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, he is too.
I think the NRL need to think about the fans, though, and just let him serve those.
Oh, don't get me started. Once I saw that, I was like, oh.
The thing with that situation is, I don't even know if what he did deserved any time at all.
Yeah.
But if you are going to give him time, you have to give it to the 2 weeks that are coming up, right?
You cannot give someone a suspension, but then go, no, play finals, have your off season, come back next year, just take it there. It just opens up a massive, massive can of worms.
The NRL just find a way to make themselves look fucking stupid all the time.
Just as you think they're sort of on the right track with it, they just do something like that.
Yeah.
Why? Disappointing.
So funny. But do you want to know, actually, we'll go into this a little bit more. What really pissed me off about the May situation was like, that kind of pissed me off. And then I got a friend, one of the Cowboys fans, his like second team is the Panthers. Like, he loves the Panthers. I don't know why. I don't know where it's come from. And he was going on about, I don't think it's that bad, like what the NRL did, which like pissed me off. And then for their game against the Eels, I put a multi together, which was, I was like, Panthers to win, Tyler May to score a try, and James Fisher-Harris to score a try.
Oh, no.
And Fisher-Harris crossed. And I messaged him. I was like, wait, I called him like 5 minutes before the game. I was like, I think Fisher-Harris, I got this feeling that Fisher-Harris is going to score. You should hop on it. Why I put May in there as well, I have no idea. But I packaged it in there. It was like before a game. It was a rush decision. I choked. I put an extra player in there with Harris. It was, I can't even remember what it was paying, but it was something ridiculous. I put like $20 on it too.
Oh, no.
And when Fisher-Harris crossed, my mate's messaging me like, you're fucking joking. And
I suppose, especially with the way that like Taylor May was scoring tries this year.
Well, it was that, and I was like, there's no way Taylor May doesn't score. Like, there's no way after getting off with this, like, it'll just be perfect for the NRL to have more people in the comment section going, fuck you, NRL. Just to have him cross for a try.
The amount of times that I've had a multi on, like, for the Penrith game, and I'll pick May to score, but they'll go Brian's edge all night.
Yeah.
Brian for an any time, and they always go to the other side.
This is the thing about Brian Toto. I always feel like he's one of the most dangerous players to pick for a try. He does so much good work, but I just feel like every time I bet on him, he does not score.
No, he doesn't.
But
this year anyway.
But Tyler May, he just 10 in the bin plus went off with I think there was 6 minutes to go, and I was just sitting there like looking at this James Fisher Harris green tick, and I was like, you fucking idiot. What have I done? Anyway, let's move into a little bit of your Roosters fandom. What is I asked you to come up with a few things. So the first one is, what's your all-time Roosters 17?
This was hard. This was very hard to do. Okay.
I know what it's like supporting a very talented club with a lot of history.
Yeah. Successful?
We have 6 premierships.
I think we're in double digits.
No, but I think actually, are the Broncos still the most cap side, like the most premierships since they entered the comp? I think they might be, unless I don't know. Melbourne hasn't passed them, so I think since the Broncos have entered the comp, we still have the most premierships.
Well,
anyway, continue. What's your all-time side?
Okay, so my all-time, fullback was Tedesco. I think that was a given.
Yeah.
My wingers was Minicello, because I had to put Minicello in there as well. And if Tedesco's playing fullback, I had to put Minicello on a wing. And I went Daniel Tupou. He's just high ball, just the way he's been playing ever since he came into the Roosters. He's been killing it.
Sorry, I just want to say Tupou may be one of the most underrated players of all time.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Like just how his kick returns as well. Like he's always a threat on the high ball, but his kick returns are just like, if you were to look at him, you'd be like, oh, okay, he's not gonna.
He's got a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Coming out of their own half.
Killing it.
He's not Corey Oates, but he's got a bit about him.
Okay, centers was Joey Manu. I chose Kenny Dow. Sean Kenny Dow.
You're fucking.
What's wrong with that?
Well, let's just talk about the fact that Latrell Mitchell's the best left center you've ever had. And he won you a premiership, so that's disrespectful. And he doesn't have 2. No, he doesn't have 2. He's just got the 1, hey.
But Kenny Dow,
Kenny Dow threw the intercept to Darius Boyd in that semi-final.
He did do that. But
he played more wing than he did center, right?
Yeah. Well, in my notes, I've got Kenny Dow / Latrell.
You know, Justin Hodges also played for the Roosters.
He did. That did cross my mind, but I thought.
So you've pissed me off in 2 ways.
I did. Also for the reason.
All right, okay. Move on.
Okay, 6, Brad Fittler.
Yeah.
Halfback. This one was hard because I have always been a Mitchell Pearce fan. And then I was filthy when they let him go to get Cooper Cronk. I know, that's a big statement. I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, why are you doing that? But
oh, no, wait. Latrell did win 2 premierships with the Roosters.
Yeah, the back-to-back.
The back-to-back. Oh, you're so disrespectful, dude. That's... Sorry, keep going.
Your ratings are just going.
I'm in the red zone right now.
I wrote Cronk / Pearce as well.
You got to make a decision.
Cronk. I'm going Cronk.
Fair enough.
Base and attack.
Yeah.
Like imagine that combo of Brad Fittler and Cooper Cronk.
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay, the forward pack is.
Sorry, just to mention, Cooper Cronk, one of the all-time tough performances going out and playing in that second one.
Oh yeah, that's. Oh, if you weren't a fan of Cooper Cronk, you were after that game.
Absolutely. And
especially, like I said before, with how filthy I was when they let Pearce go and he comes out and Cronk plays with one arm to win us a comp. That made it so worthwhile. Okay, forward pack. This is, I reckon.
This is where it gets tough.
My front row is Artie Beetson.
Had to.
Adrian Morley.
Yep.
Hooker is Jakey Friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then the back row is Boyd Cordner, Craig Fitzgibbon, and Luke Ricketson.
I like it. Did James Fish? Sorry, not James Fish Harris. Hargreaves. Did Hargreaves ever come into your mind at all?
He's on my bench. He's definitely in the
Oh,
same.
okay, sweet.
But at first, I wrote Artie's name down first, and then I got to the other prop, and I wrote Jared's name, and I had Morley on the bench, but I switched it.
It's fair enough.
Oh, Morley to start. And then my bench is Mitch Orbison. You had to have one of the greats.
If you didn't actually put him there, I was gonna flip my laptop because I knew you weren't gonna pick Latrell. And if you
should have put Orbison as starting center.
You should. I thought that's what you were gonna do. I was sitting there.
I did think of Ryan Cross as well.
Oh yeah, I would have pissed me off less if you put Orbo there at center instead of fucking Kenny Dow. Anyway,
that's the best. Okay, bench: Mitch Orbison, Jared, Sonny Bill.
Yeah, huge.
Had to have Sonny in there. And the last spot I took, I was on this for ages, and I ended up choosing Victor Radley.
You like Victor?
I'm a big Victor fan.
Yeah. I love that pass he had over the top a few weeks back. It was like straight up in the air. It like got over to the...
Oh, was that against the Tigers?
I'm trying to think who it was against. I remember seeing that and I was like, what in the hell was that? He's just so... There's a lot of guys that I'm concerned are going to medically retire early. And he's one of those guys, but he's so much fun to watch. Hey, just head first into every tackle and then can run so hard, but has just the nice hands about him. And
he's a beast in defense. But what I was just about to say was I saw something on Facebook yesterday. Apparently, they're thinking of putting Victor and Hargreaves into an anger management class over the off season. I thought it was
just
a job.
put him in detention. Put him on the red seat. Then, as you're becoming a teacher, what would you do with them?
That's all right.
Let the boys play.
Give it warnings. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that was hard to pick my all time because like the amount of players that have played for the Roosters. But
no, I think you nailed 95% of it.
Yeah, Kenny Dow was first in.
All right, my next question is, what was it going to be? Oh yeah, if you could add one current NRL player to your side next year, who would you add? Pick it, anyone.
I think I would go Cleary, Nathan Cleary.
You wouldn't take Latrell back?
No.
Fair enough.
You've had his time. You could have stayed. But no.
I'm waiting. So you're the second person I asked Matt Gilbert this last week about for his Canberra Raiders, and he picked Cleary as well. When I threw the question out there, I was like, he's probably going to pick Cleary.
Yeah, I think, like, no disrespect to Walker, but I think we struggled a fair bit this year, like halves-wise, like I said before, like that combination between Keary and Walker. And, I mean, Keary's been there for ages, so I think his running game with Cleary would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think, kicking game as well, that's another area where I think the Roosters struggled a bit this year.
Was there a close second?
No. I think, when you told me that question, I think, Cleary was the first person I thought of. Because I think forward pack-wise, they were pretty good, and, like, the depth.
Oh, hang on. I lost you. Just talk for a second. Can you hear me?
That working?
Yeah, that's working. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, sweet.
But yeah, I think like with the talent they got in that outside back, so you put like Suoli or like Manu off the back of like some Nathan Cleary work.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there's a team, like if I was to have a fan on how long I'd have to go before I got to someone that didn't pick Cleary. I wouldn't pick Cleary for the Broncos.
And why is that?
Well, for starters, I think the Broncos are lacking a little bit of. Obviously, you go for a Sydney-based club. I think the Broncos are lacking a little bit of Queenslander in them. I don't know.
Yeah, fair.
My favorite time growing up supporting the Broncos, I was used to having 8 players gone playing for Queensland, and I wouldn't mind that back. I'd probably pick Munster personally.
That'd be a deadly half combo of Munster and Reynolds.
Yeah, absolutely. But even you could pick Cleary because I don't know how long Reynolds has in him. It kind of feels like we've just picked up what's his name from the Tigers, the halfback.
Jock Madden.
Yeah, we just picked up Madden, and I think that's a lot of people I'm seeing in the comments being like, "Oh, this is great. He's going to learn under Adam Reynolds," and which is all true. But I also think it's Adam Reynolds' insurance because we lost Tyson Gamble to Newcastle, and there's just a good chance that Reynolds misses a quarter to half a season.
Yeah, big time.
So Cleary obviously would be nice, but I like Cameron Munster and
but I think if I was to say someone else other than Cleary, I think maybe I'd almost go either Harry Grant or Damien Cook.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I haven't seen how the Cheese is going to go next year. That I might just be no, keep Cheese. But I think
I don't mind Cheese playing lock.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because me and Zach were talking about it the other day because him being a Titan supporter, he's yeah, I know, it's funny. Him being a Titan supporter, he rates the Verrill signing.
Yeah, he should.
He was saying how he reckons now the Cheese is more suited to a lock or prop because I mean he's played a lot more footy there now since Harry Grant's sort of secured that 9 role at the Storm.
Yeah.
And he was saying, he reckons that the Cheese is more of a lock, and they should have kept Verrill.
But the year before that, when Harry Grant was going through all his injuries, Brandon Smith dropped a bunch of weight, and he played like he was the best number 9 in the world. And then obviously this season, he knew he wasn't going to play as much 9, put on a bit of weight again. So I don't actually think that'll be much of an issue come next season.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen to see how he goes with the Roosters. His personality with guys like Victor and Angus Crichton and Jared, that'd just be
It's going to be on.
I'm so keen.
All right, man. Well, this has been fun. I did ask for a Matt's multi. What's your multi for this weekend? Have you come up with one?
I have.
I actually have a doozy one. But you go yours.
I've got 3 legs for each game.
Okay.
So I've got just a single one for each game. So for the Eels Canberra, I think Canberra are a huge chance.
Mm-hmm.
I rate that, and the line at the moment is 6.5. So I think Raiders with a 6.5 starts pretty solid. So I rate that. Anytime Sivo, you got to have Sivo in there.
Mm-hmm.
And also Hudson Young for Canberra, Smokey for the Aussie team.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my multi.
What's that paying?
That is paying. I just got rid of my bed slip. That is paying. Those 3 legs are $9.50.
That's not bad.
I rate that.
That's pretty good.
And then for the Sharks game, I want the Sharks to win. So I'd either just take Sharks head-to-head, or I think it'll be close. I think both games are going to be very close. So you could probably take 1 to 12 as well. So I'm going to take Sharks head-to-head. You have to have Alex Johnson in there. I think anytime you put a multi on against South, you got to have Johnson in there anytime.
He's the modern-day Corey Oates. Back in the day, you just always put Corey Oates either anytime or first try scorer, and you were probably doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And he's just another level of that.
You could even go Alex Johnson for 2.
Yeah.
I had one bet last week for the Roosters South game. There was a special, and it was for $7, Johnson to score a try in each half at $7. I had 20 on that. He scored the first try and then
Yeah,
the first try in the second half as well.
that's awesome.
That's easy money. But yeah, Sharks head to head into Alex Johnston anytime, and then into Jesse Ramian,
What's that paying?
$7.50.
I don't mind that. Are you ready for mine?
Okay, here we go. This will be good.
So it's a 4-legger over both games. I've also gone Canberra to win, but I've just gone a flat win with Hudson Young to score, and I've gone Souths to win over the Sharks with Latrell to score. That's paying $20.
$20.
$20.
That's good.
That's not bad, is it?
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
So I put a little 20 on that.
Yeah, I like that. I don't Latrell as much, but
yeah, I don't actually mind who wins out of the South Cronulla game. I think whoever comes out of that one is who I want to win the premiership. Or Canberra. Canberra would be just exciting.
I think other than the Cowboys, I think I'd like to see the Sharks win it.
Yeah.
But it would be the stories that would come out of if like Canberra.
Imagine if Canberra won the comp.
They come through, they've just knocked out Melbourne, they're going to put imagine if they put 40 on Parramatta on Saturday, then they come out and smash the Cowboys at home.
Yeah, I don't imagine having to go up to North Queensland to verse the Cowboys right now, who are just such a solid side. I think it's going to be tough. I think the Cowboys make it through to the grand final. I think the most likely upset, maybe not. I don't know. I think Souths, if they came up against the Panthers, would have a little bit of confidence against them.
Well, that game that they played was a month ago now.
Yeah.
And I think was it the game that Jackson Paulo had a couple big errors and they lost. Oh yeah, he dropped the high ball just before full time.
Yeah.
And then Penrith scored. They nearly made it full time. I know that very obviously, but
it's. And I think the Souths are just kind of peaking at the right time. And I don't think Latrell's really scared of anyone. He's not really scared of that moment either. And neither's Cody Walker. Cody Walker in the grand final throws the intercept and then scores 3 minutes later. He's the kind of guy, they're the players that you want against a Panthers side that obviously I think the only way to beat the Panthers is to rattle them a little bit. And they're the sort of players that could maybe do that.
I think will Penrith play at home for that game, or do they take it to another stadium?
I don't know.
For that game,
I'm not sure.
If it were to be at Penrith, then I think Penrith definitely, because they're playing at their Penrith home game.
But I'm just it's looking more and more likely that it's going to be a Panthers Cowboys grand final, and that's just the only final I don't want. It's crazy, in my heart, how much I don't want. If it wasn't for my two mates, I feel it'd be Broncos 1A, Cowboys just underneath them. But these guys have just made me hate them so much. I'd probably go for the Panthers. My life will just suck if the Cowboys win the comp. So anyway, hey man, this has been fun. Oh, were you gonna say something?
I was about to say, have you seen the Kiwi team for the World Cup that came out?
So I saw it drop today. I haven't gotten to look at it yet.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No, they I was thinking when I saw it, it'd be fun to do a little podcast before the World Cup starts. Do you think their forward pack's better than ours?
Look, no. I think you could pick anyone at the moment.
I haven't actually seen it. Can I just let me look it up? But I'm just thinking of all the key. Is everyone in? Is there any big outs?
Not that I know of. There's a lot of players that you just expect.
I think Bloke in a Bar posted it.
Yeah, just getting it up too.
Yeah,
it's pretty stacked.
Nelson, Jesse, Kenny, James Fisher-Harris,
Hamlin Ueli.
Yep. See, this is the thing, man. I actually Leota. Like, who's even their starting front row is going to be?
Well,
Do you just go the Panthers boys?
they'd be in there. I think. Well, I know Jared's not going to get a run until because he got suspended for 3 games after Sunday's game.
Does that go into the World Cup? So he misses the first game.
Yeah. Apparently, the Roosters were like hoping that he got picked because then he deserves the suspension in the World Cup, and then he's free to play round 1.
Yeah, right.
But I think you have Fisher Harris in there. You'll have Isaiah Papali in there on an edge. I think you'd have probably Moses Leota as your other starting prop, to be honest.
Yeah, you would. Dude, I actually reckon that their forward pack's better than ours.
Really?
Who's our front row is going to be?
I would have said Payne Haas, but I don't know if he's going to get picked. Isn't he injured?
So oh yeah, he's got to have surgery.
Yeah.
But even if he is playing, like, as a Bronco fan, I've always been pretty adamant that James Fisher-Harris is the best prop in the comp. And then, wait, is Tarpanay playing for the...
Yeah, he's in there. He's in the squad.
So you got 2 guys that might be better than Payne Haas.
Well, you'd have...
Will Tarpanay be the 13? Or will they play him at front row as well?
Who's that, sorry?
Tarpanay.
Sure. Maybe you play 13.
This is the thing, man. They're stacked. Like, they might have 3 or 4 front rowers better than our best front rower. If Payne Haas isn't playing.
Yeah, true. And I think Josh Papali's playing for Samoa, I think.
Is he?
I think so.
And they got Isaiah Papali in a second row. Like, he could be the best second rower in the comp.
Does he go to the Tigers next year?
Angus Crichton's good, though.
Yeah. I feel like you'll have Cameron Murray in there. You'll have Pat Carrigan probably lurking in there as well, I reckon.
Yo will be in there.
Isaiah Yo will
Paddy Carrigan might have to play prop.
Yeah. Unless they have him come off the bench, maybe.
Yeah, but would you have Cam Murray on an edge then instead of at lock? And you have Carrigan because Carrigan, I don't see Carrigan or Yo playing on an edge where Cam Murray can kind of
true.
Mix and match.
You've got Hudson Young possibly getting picked. You've got apparently Matt Lodge was in consideration.
Bro, the Kiwis forward pack is better than ours. This is the thing.
But you pick a hooker, Grant or Cook.
Grant.
Or you go.
No, I'd actually pick Ben Hunt.
Yeah, fair.
I'd pick Ben Hunt, and I'd take. Do you take 2 hookers, or do you then put like a Nico Hines on the bench?
I don't know. Maybe they're picking Matt Burden as well.
God, he'd be a great 14. Hey,
he's come on for a bit, just run him up. But I mean, he's never really had.
But then look at the way Jack Whiten's playing right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Connor. Is Orbo still putting his hand up, or?
I reckon he'd be doing some sprints at home. I reckon.
Absolutely.
He'd just be like, he'd have his phone sitting there waiting for.
Just in case, and if he doesn't get the call, he's completely fine with it. Like, he's so content.
He'll just work until the next one.
Yeah. No, I'm worried about this Kiwi side, man. And then you got Brandon Smith. Like, will Smith be the 9? Sean Johnson's in the squad. I wonder if he gets a run.
Dylan Brown will be starting 6 for sure. You got Jerome.
Yeah, and then Jerome Hughes is probably the 7.
Both be starting, both of them.
Hey?
Brown. The starting halves will be Dylan Brown and Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, Sean Johnson's just there as like a... I'm a big Sean Johnson fan, but he's probably just there as insurance.
Yeah, most of those boys there will probably be there like fast.
And then, like, I mean, Joey Manu will probably be the fullback, right? You got guys like Peter Hiku. Like, Peter Hiku just was awesome on the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, this season, he's played like one of the top centers in the comp.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think Australia's got to be worried about the Kiwis. Their forward pack is definitely better than ours, though. Yeah. Like 1,000%. And then, we obviously have some pretty good backs, but I mean, Joey Manu on his day is the best center in the world. Might be the best fullback in the world.
Or best 6.
Could be the best 6 in the world. Yeah, I don't know.
It'll be a good World Cup, because you've got like Tonga will be stacked, Samoa will be stacked. You'll always have the Kiwis and Australia up there. And
See, that's
who England pick.
yeah, but that's the thing though. Like, imagine if those guys didn't like defer to Tonga, then you throw Lolo into this New Zealand forward pack as well.
Oh yeah,
It's
like
disgusting.
I remember growing up and like watching World Cups and stuff, and you just always know it's going to be, like an Australia New Zealand final. Like it always ends up, and you had the occasional where one of them might choke, and it'd be like England in the final.
Yeah.
Like this World Cup this year, it's like it could go anywhere. You never know.
Yeah. I think New Zealand should be favourites.
You reckon there's a price out?
Let's look quickly. I can edit it, so we actually don't have to look that quickly.
Australia's $1.40 favourite. This is on Sportsbet.
What's New Zealand?
Second favourite at $5.50. Then you've got England at $8.50, Tonga 13, Samoa 26, Fiji 51.
I don't think anyone else can win outside of New Zealand and Australia. Like if a team upsets one of those teams in the semis, I don't see you being able to. That's going to take a lot. I don't see you being able to do that twice in a row, beating New Zealand into Australia. But New Zealand at $5 something. That's, I don't know.
Got a bonus bet there. Just throw that on there.
Yeah. Anyways, mate, this has been fun. Thank you for hopping on.
My pleasure. Thank you, Basky.
Nah, what an honor, man.
Awesome.
Nah, it's been good. Cheers, mate.
All good. No worries.
Huge shout out to Matt Hurley for jumping on the podcast. That was a lot of fun. I told him we'd talk tried aim 15 minutes. It was almost an hour. So, but that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. Now we're going to move on to Matty Gilbert.
But you can hear me okay, mate?
Yeah, I can hear you all good. Can you hear me all good?
Yeah, I got you fine.
Okay. So this is working. It's just not the headphones.
You don't have the look, mate. You don't have the podcast look without the headphones.
No, I know. That's all it really is, to be honest.
It's important. It's important.
Alrighty, Matty, thank you for hopping on at such short notice.
No worries. Happy to do it.
No, I was meant to be hopping on a podcast myself today. I got asked onto another one.
Yeah.
Put in stuff, and I was hoping to just I was going to make that my podcast for the week and get the audio for that, but no, it fell through. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do for this week? And shot some messages around. So with your Raiders going so well on the weekend, I thought I should just call you back in.
Mate, I'm happy to be the fullback. I had heaps of fun last week. I think you said last week that I needed to finish higher than top 4 to get a start again next year, and it's the next week and I'm already back on, mate. So
I looked back at the tape and you did pretty well, and I was just like, I guess I'll bring him back.
Yeah, give him another go. Happy days.
But hey, let's get straight into it. Your Canberra Raiders, they dusted off the Melbourne Storm.
So good. It's funny, mate, like after chatting with you last week, I had a few mates that listened to the podcast, and they were like, man, you're just not giving the Raiders enough credit. They thought I was a little bit negative. So I was confident a little bit for that. But no, they were great. They were awesome. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because I went back and like just to put out a little bit of content just to promote the podcast. I was like, Matt, I feel like I was more positive about Canberra than Matty was.
Absolutely. I think I did say that like we played a lot better in attack like the 2 weeks prior, but it was also the fact that it was Manly and Tigers that we played that I just didn't know how much we could take away from it. But yeah, I was so impressed with how we played. I thought it was a great game. Really good.
It got to 20 minutes to go, and I think Melbourne were just up still.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, it was close, but they were just up. And I was like, in Melbourne Storm fashion, they're probably going to get away with this one.
That was probably the most pleasing thing, I reckon, because at the start, we obviously were defending for like the first 10 minutes, scored a try against run of play, like had a pretty good sort of first half on the back end of that. But then, yeah, like you said, in the first bit of the second half, Melbourne sort of were coming back and getting in front. You sort of think, oh, here we go. But we just stuck in. And, stayed in it and, got the W. So I was chuffed.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this the whole weekend, especially after watching that Canberra game, seeing Canberra come out on top. And then obviously seeing the Panthers, the way they played, there's two ways you want to go into a finals. And I think this is at any sort of level of sport, like whether you're playing like D grade, social touch, or you're playing professional sport at the highest level. I think there's two things you want to be when you go into the finals. You either want to be like, you kind of know you're the most talented side without being arrogant, but you know, you're very confident in your ability and whatnot. And then I think the other thing you want to be is maybe that team that, like Canberra, kind of just snuck into the 8. No one's really given them any sort of a chance, but they obviously, when you look at the squad, highly talented forward pack. You've got two halves that can, I mean, Jack Whiten on his day is one of the best 5'8" in the comp. And then a back five there's a bit of X factor in that back five. So there's no reason why the Canberra Raiders couldn't upset anyone. And
yeah, I agree. Yeah. There's
no pressure on them, right? They can just go and play.
For sure. And we play really unorthodox sort of footy as well, which I think if you're winning games and you've got a bit of momentum, that can really work for you. Like, we're not super structured. Like, it's not like we attack in one area. We just sort of throw the ball around, and that can sort of throw out some of the more structured teams. And and on the back of like winning games sort of more recently and just being full of confidence, it can definitely work. So I've totally changed my tune. I'm literally like gone from, I'm not sure, to booking grand final tickets. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, so like obviously I was rattling off some reasons why I think the Canberra Rays are pretty good. You also, just before we get into any further, Joseph Tapine or Tapine, I don't actually know how I meant to say the last name. Everyone says it differently. But I went back and obviously watched the game, but then today when I was going to have you on, I was like, oh, let me just go look at some of the stats. And I had a look at his, and let me read these out real quick. 20 hit-ups, 216 meters, 70 post-contact meters, 6 tackle breaks, 3 line break assists, 1 try assist. And one of my favorite stats is the play the ball speed. I'm a bit of a Cam Murray fan.
Yeah.
His play the ball speed was the quickest on the team, tied with Jack Whiten. So 2.9.
Wow.
And so you go, that guy's doing all that work through the middle. And then he's also, I mean, his ability with the ball, like setting up other people and just creating space for others and stuff. And then he's still playing the ball at 2.9 seconds. He makes him a tough cover in the middle.
That's crazy. Like, that's the only stat I didn't know from the weekend that you just rattled off. I didn't know he was playing the ball that quickly. I didn't know he was in the mix for, quickest play the ball. But those other stats that you rattle off, like, he was playing like a halfback in that first half. Like, when we defended for the first 10 minutes and then Tomoko scored that awesome try where he fended Munster off a couple of times, like, that was literally just an offload from Tapine for Whiten to go through. Yeah, like you said, that try assist to Elliot Whitehead was, halfback worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally like, all the rave over the weekend, and rightly so, was about Cleary, because his performance was dead set 10 out of 10. Like, his kicking game especially was just next level. But like, Tapine was a very, very close second. Like, he was literally playing like a halfback. He was playing like a world-class halfback and a world-class prop rolled into one. Yep. All the work of a prop. And then, like you said, 3 line break assists, try assists, all that sort of stuff. He's so important to us at the moment. I reckon he literally just added a couple $100,000 to his contract negotiations for the come November. So hopefully we can hold on to him
easily. No, I've always really liked Jack Whiten. But yeah, just over the last couple of seasons, I've really started to like Tapine a lot. And I was talking to a mate. I mean, watching the South's Roosters game. Did you watch that one?
Yeah, of course.
It was just chaos.
Seriously, yeah. I think we were in a group. Yeah, we were in a group chat, weren't we?
Oh yeah.
Just saying, this is madness. Like, it's madness.
But I was kind of talking to a mate about that game, and I kind of had my hesitancies about whether if the Broncos did make the top 8, could they match the level of intensity of whether you thought that was a good game or a bad game? The intensity level was obviously super, super high. And we just kind of started talking about the Broncos, and there feels like a little bit of like everyone's just decided that Payne Haas is the prop in the NRL. And maybe him putting that $1 million price tag on himself has made people go, oh, well, have now like maybe got off him a little bit. But there was this idea that he was the most talented front rower. And I've actually never, as a Broncos fan, I've never actually felt like he was the best prop in the game. Yeah. I've always felt like it's James Fisher-Harris from the Panthers.
Yeah. Yep.
But then for a guy like Tapine to come out in the first round of the finals and play that way against a Melbourne Storm side that has a great forward pack, he's kind of putting his hand up. Hey,
I reckon he's taken that mantle. It's funny. I've spoken about this to a few mates over the years. Like I reckon that's the term that's thrown around the most than any other in rugby league. Like the best prop in the game.
Yeah.
Like there's been times where it was like, you know, Jesse Bromwich was a shoe-in, and then it was like, you know, James Graham and Sam Burgess, and like it's always thrown around who's the best prop in the game, and I feel like it changes sort of every sort of half year. But I was probably in agreement about Payne Haas, like leading into this year. I think, you know, especially when the Broncos were struggling, and you know, he was obviously always putting his hand up and doing a lot of work, and he was scoring tries from like, you know, 45 meters out sometimes, just doing things that, you know, props don't usually do, beating the fullback one-on-one and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's probably regressed a little bit. Everyone's gone off him slightly with him, you know, coming out about the whole contract thing around Origin, and especially given how you guys were going, like it's not the time to be coming out and sort of stamping your feet about sort of $1 million the way Brisbane were going, like risking disrupting Origin. And on the back of Pat Carrigan this year, like, yeah, I think Carrigan's form has probably taken a few $100,000 off Haas's asking price as well, because I don't think he's even the most important forward for you guys anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's the Payne Haas thing is tough when we upgraded his contract without even extending him, and so usually if a club looks after a player like that, you'd like them to at least, I don't know, play out the rest of that contract and then start making discussions and stuff. But he's obviously this is my opinion on Payne Haas is I think talent-wise, he's probably the most talented prop in the comp. But there's just kind of something that when there's another level to being a prop. And I heard it was Paul Kent talking about Hargreaves from the Roosters, how he was the last one to leave the field at halftime.
I heard that.
All of his players. Like that kind of enforcer role. And you know, Payne Haas is obviously this physical specimen and whatever else, but there's just this, like, there's an attitude to it. And, you know, James Fisher-Harris, he used to be kind of a guy that was pretty rough around the edges and wasn't a very polished player, but he wasn't really a guy you wanted to fuck with too much.
Absolutely.
But now he's kind of like this polished player that, you know, you still wouldn't, I don't know, there's an aura around props, and I don't get the same aura around Payne Haas as I do with James Fisher-Harris. I don't get that with Tapine either. That kind of James Fisher-Harris
enforcer style thing.
Enforcer, and that's kind of what I want from my prop. So for me personally, I've always been I think James Fisher-Harris is the best prop in the game, and I still think that. But those guys like Tapine, Payne Haas, this kind of new. Well, I mean, I guess James Fisher-Harris is still the new breed of prop, but these guys that are just highly skilled, great footwork. I mean. Even James Fisher-Harris, he had that the left foot step into the flick pass.
That's it.
So, but it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of really great front rowers, and I think Tapine is kind of putting his hand up.
For sure. But when you talk about the enforcer, like, I don't even reckon we could rattle off 5 that could genuinely, like, say that they're in that capacity. Like, I think James Fisher-Harris is the pinnacle, because you saw Jared Warrior-Hargraves on the weekend. Like, he is in that role, but he took it way too far, and there was no footy played. And yeah, that was probably way over the line. And I think there was a few things written about it this week where a lot of people are waiting for Cody Walker and Latrell to lose their head. And it was, you know, Warrior-Hargraves and Radley, you know, far more than those guys losing their head. But yeah, I think James Fisher-Harris, absolutely, like, he's the pinnacle of that kind of front rower. You know, like, he doesn't go over the line. He's absolutely intimidating. You know, no one's going to go near him. No one's going to choose to run at him. You know, let's just say that. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like, who else would you even put in that mold? I can't even think of. I'm trying to think other sides and who else should even throw in that real enforcer mold. Like, it's so much more these days about, like you said, that late footwork.
Yeah,
you know, big motor style guys that get put up on a pedestal.
It's certainly a dying breed. I think Big Nelson from Melbourne, he kind of brings.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
The Bromwich brothers have a little bit about them, but it's definitely one of those things where. I mean, I hate to bring this back to the Broncos, but like, you've got to be really, really tough to play the game of rugby league, but then there's levels of toughness on top of that. And there's just like, I think there is, like, you might go to Tapine or Tapine or Payne Haas. Like, you could easily argue that they're the best front rower in the comp, and you couldn't tell that person that they're wrong.
Yeah.
But then there is that, just like, it feels like it's important to have a guy like Nelson or a Wera Hargreaves that brings an edge to your team. And they're not as skilled, they're not as good. They're not as good a player, but they just bring an edge. And I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess you don't have to be sort of, barking and in the niggle and all that sort of stuff to be that enforcer. Like Papali'i was probably that for us for a fair few years there. Like he's still immense. Like he's been a little bit probably more inconsistent recently, but
he was pretty awesome on the weekend though.
Oh, on the weekend he was next level, especially when Tapine was off. Like Tapine played, I think, the majority of the first half, if not the whole first half. And then it was really important when Papali'i came back on for, his 20 minutes in that second half to be immense. And it was insane. I think he had 9 tackle busts or something by the end of the game, 170 running meters as well. So he's obviously a bit of the forgotten man now because Tapine's going so well. But I think if you go back previously, like, he was known to be pretty handy with his fists and obviously a really big body and a bit of an enforcer. Didn't have to be in the, sledging or anything, but still probably seen as that kind of a.
I think you've got a few enforcer type forwards in your pack anyway. That Tapine maybe doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so
I just can't believe we're in the 6 teams left, mate. Like and it's crazy. Like this will be if we get through Para, and it doesn't feel like this just based on how we've played the last sort of 2 years or 18 months, but this will be our 3rd prelim in 4 years. And you say it like that, and you think, wow, like the Raiders have been one of the most dominant teams over the last 4 years, but it doesn't feel like that given sneaking in this year and obviously a pretty ordinary year last year. You sort of think, oh wow, it doesn't feel like that, but that'd be a huge achievement for us if we got through Para. That's a massive stat.
That is. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I wanted to start this segment of like just bringing on someone that is really dedicated to their footy team. Because I've heard even I don't know how much American sports you listen to, but I listen to this one American podcaster, Ryan Russillo, who used to work for ESPN, and he always talks about how, he might give a little bit of a take about a bit of a fringe franchise, like say like the Charlotte Hornets, something like that.
Yep.
And he'll have a bunch of Hornets fans write in like, oh, you said this was wrong, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, kind of admittedly, he's like, this is my job. He's like, the reality is I watch a lot of basketball, but I am going to focus on those top tier teams more than the other ones because they're the ones that are the most important. A fan that watches every minute of their team play every single week is actually going to probably have a better grasp on, their team than that person has to dissect all other teams in the league.
Yeah, it's
so
so true.
That was a fun thing that I wanted to do with this segment. Is like, oh, cool, I can bring someone in that watches their team play week in and week out, and you notice that
it's so true because I love footy obviously, and I watch a lot of footy. But when the Raiders are playing, I'm watching every single step on that field and just analysing everything about it and watching the presser afterwards and going back and watching the KO mini after I've just watched the full game and, just random things like that you do when it's your team. But obviously I watch a heap of other footy, but yeah, certainly not as intently. So it's absolutely right. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. So like, as you were saying, so you got the Panthers this week. Then Para. Para. What I was going to say was, you guys have kind of ended up on the nice side of the draw because you get Para, and then if you get through Para, you don't have to verse the Panthers. You get to verse the Cowboys.
That's it.
And
it would have been even better too if the Sharks got up, which they should have, because obviously big trip to Townsville different than sort of driving up the highway to Sydney. So if Sharks had got up, it would have been even easier. Even though, like, not saying that Sharks are an easier opposition than the Cows, but it would have been, because PointsBet isn't big enough for a prelim, so it would have been essentially a neutral ground against the Sharks just up the road if we got through Para versus going to Townsville, and there'll be not many Raiders fans up there, obviously, just 25,000 screaming North Queensland people pretty much up there. But
the Cowboys have stumbled into quite a great spot that they're in right now. But I feel like every Raiders fan's got to be pretty confident against the Eels.
Yeah, I think it was more, just on the back of how we played. Like, I think the Eels were still probably much better versus Penrith than people were giving them credit for. Like obviously Moses going down was a big thing in that game, and they've been so good this year when they
as well.
Yeah. So when they've turned it on, like I know they've been inconsistent all year, but when they've turned it on, like they've been the team that looks probably the best, especially up against Penrith. If you're talking about the whole competition. So like huge match. And obviously, that Combank is obviously a big challenge as well. So I still think Para are deserved favourites, but just on the back of how we played last week, mate, it was unreal. Like it's we like I said, we played for that for a couple of weeks beforehand, but then to do it against a pretty decent opposition. It's funny, like Raiders don't usually get much credit. Like, especially the New South Wales media, or the Sydney media, I should say. It's all about, the Sydney teams or the bigger teams. And it's funny, like a lot of the footy shows and stuff I watched, it was straight away, Storm weren't playing well and poor Storm with their injuries. And I feel like, man, they had Grant, Munster and sort of Brandon Smith and, all these stars, Jerome Hughes. We did very well to get through them.
No, yeah. I mean, the Melbourne Storm have obviously had like a bit of an average season. They haven't been able to actually find any sort of consistency. But there was that one try where the ball's gone, obviously Harry Grant at hooker, giving it to Munster. He's straightened up, giving it to Hughes out the back. And then Hughes has tipped it along to this. Did he throw it straight out to Coates, or did he hit? Did he hit someone?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember. But I remember just thinking, I was like,
jammed in, and
I was sitting there and I was like, it hit me when I was watching. I was like, this Canberra team's actually beaten a team that can actually go Harry Grant to Munster, who's got Nelson running a line for him, to then hit, who then cuts it out to Xavier Coates, who's played Origin footy. Like it's they've had some injuries and stuff, but they're still a handy side. And going into it, people were saying that they thought Melbourne could end up in the grand final still. So
yeah, and I thought that. I actually thought that. I know we spoke about it last week.
Did.
Where you were talking about how much you enjoy watching them play because of that reason. So, it's a good, really, really good win for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, I guess just as a Canberra fan, got the Eels this week. Then you got an easier game. Your bracket, your side of the bracket now is the easier route to the grand final because you don't have to go through the Panthers, and you're obviously feeling pretty good. But before we wrap this up, what's your prediction for this game against the Eels? I know you're not on Sportsbet, but give me a score margin.
All right, I'll say Raiders 1-12. I don't think you can go if I'm going to back the Raiders, I think I'd be mad going 13 plus. So I think Raiders 1-12. And I might just say Hudson Young to continue on his try scoring ways. Hudson Young, anytime try scorer, because he's just around the footy at the moment. I had a mate come up to watch the game from the Gold Coast on the weekend, and he said something that I hadn't even really thought about. He's sort of like our John Bateman, and I thought we missed John Bateman so much when he went back to England. Just that real unorthodox play, and Hudson Young has sort of assumed that role this year because he's just so unorthodox. He's grubbered for himself and scored a couple of match-winning tries through the year. He obviously just chased that kick from Whiten on the weekend.
Yeah,
he's making breaks, from the opposition try line or from our own try line, and running through and things like that. So, hopefully he just continues doing his thing.
Nice. And who's the man of the match?
Man of the match. Oh, I'm just gonna give it to Tapane for sure. Like I think if he plays as well as he did last weekend, we're absolutely into it up to our eyeballs for sure.
How good's the Canberra forward pack versus the Eels forward pack going to be? That's a fun
massive. Because I'd say that they probably deserve the title as the best forward pack, especially given how their edges are playing. Like Lane and Papali'i are immense.
Yeah,
big guys up front. Paulo and Reg and Marnie's class, and you got Madison who's come off the bench half the year, throws bloody 10 offloads a game. So it's a great mix.
It's a good forward pack. I'm not giving them the best forward pack. I think the Panthers have the best forward pack personally.
Yeah.
Just those two front rowers, and then you got these edge forwards in Martin and
It's true. It's so true.
Hard. And I'm quite a big Isaiah Yeo fan. So
he's insane.
Just kind of like Tapine, that middle forward that can just kind of be that extra halfback. The amount that he does for Nathan Cleary that doesn't actually come up in the stats for me, but where he can be that first receiver and it kind of just bends that defensive line a little bit. He can kind of tip Cleary, and Cleary's got all the time in the world for these kicks. And I saw some people saying that Cleary against the Eels didn't put enough pressure on his kicking game. And I always feel that way, but I feel like the reason why he's so hard to contain is because of what Isaiah Yeo does, just in terms of being that first receiver. Kind of lays a platform for Cleary to just get a kickoff whenever he wants. And I mean, you look at someone like Cleary, who he might have the best kicking game in the comp. We also have over at the Broncos, we have Adam Reynolds, who's a pretty good kicker himself, but he was under pressure the entire year. And you kind of saw a year where his kicking game wasn't quite as good and he didn't have as much room as what he did with the team like South, where he had someone like Cam Murray that, you know, can kind of be that extra person to make it easier for him. But
that's it. And the other thing that Yo does just so well is he just picks, he plays like eyes up footy, reads what the defense is doing, picks when to run and pass just brilliantly. Like if there's nothing on, he'll never just pass when there's nothing on. He'll just take the hit up, get a quick play, the ball off he goes, and then like I think Matty Johns has said a bunch of times this year that he dead set thinks he's the best player in the game. And like you said, if you looked at his stats, it wouldn't read like that. You know, stats wise, like he does so much that you can't read on the back of stats. But he's just so important to that side. And Tapine, you know, looked like Yo slightly on the weekend just with the way he was playing with the ball, but he hasn't done that all year. He's just been a straight up, predominantly, you know, front rower who's just been immense with post contact meters and meters in general. But yeah, Jesus, if he developed a bit of that in his game and he played more like a 13 for us, you know, that could be game changing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on, Matty. This is fun again.
No, pleasure, mate. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's good fun.
Yeah. Any chance to talk about footy, mate, I'm there.
No, 100%. No. So this episode this week is basically, I'm having to throw it together, but I'm just going to do this with a couple of other fans. So I'm going to bring on Roosters fan, might even bring on a Broncos fan to talk about how not top 8 material we are. I don't know. I'm just going to reach out to a couple of people and put out whatever we got. So
brilliant.
You're good for a good chat. So no,
absolutely. No, good on you, mate.
Cheers, bro. Have a good one.
Thank you.
And that was Matty Gilbert. I'm not going to lie, man. That guy's going to people are going to start asking for him instead of me. He's great behind the mic. I mean, there's not even a mic in front of him, but he's still doing a great job. But yeah, shout out to him for hopping on. That was fun. I enjoy talking footy with Matty Gilbert. So thanks for hopping on, mate. Appreciate that. And yeah, let's move into Max Thompson for a very somewhat depressing conversation. Yeah, get near that light, big boy. I want to see your face. How's your day?
I was okay, you know, just work.
Oh, that's good. Don't be too cheery. I have recorded, by the way. I've started recording.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was just work. There's nothing really to talk about.
No, that's fair enough. So basically, quick little backstory. Was meant to be on a podcast, not on a podcast. Putting together a little bit of a show where I'm just going to call a couple of mates, talk about their footy teams. Obviously, our footy team wasn't in the finals.
No.
But, you know, I was thinking this is probably... I'm trying to think the last time that we went a weekend of footy where we didn't watch a game together. It's been a while. So you kind of brushed me this weekend.
I don't live close at the moment.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying. And yeah, I was like, oh, well, you know, get my fellow Bronx fan. We can just talk a little bit about the footy that happened on the weekend.
It was good.
So you asked me for a run sheet of what we were going to talk about. And I said, I'd prefer to just ask you the question live and have your live reaction to it without you thinking too much about it. My question is, after watching, which games did you watch on the weekend?
All of them.
You watched all of them. Cool.
Yeah.
After watching week 1 of the finals, how much do you think the Broncos could have competed?
Not a lot. Not very well at all. I mean, earlier in the season, yeah, but after watching that, nah.
Yeah. So obviously going through it, like you had the Panthers Eels game. If we
no.
if we finished, say, in that fourth spot, which we were looking at, and we came up against the Panthers, not great.
I don't know. Like we handily beat the Eels like in that game like
Yeah.
8 weeks ago or something,
And then
and then they just
4 weeks
destroyed
later,
us.
yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I actually want to do. I don't know when we're going to do it, but I want to do a bigger. So I'm doing this couple of casuals thing. I want to do an extended couple of casuals episode where we talk just strictly the Broncos for quite a long time.
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily about the Broncos too much, but just more so. How do you think we would have gone against these other teams? So obviously, Panthers put a clinic on the Eels, and the Eels put a clinic on us not too long ago. The Raiders came out, beat Melbourne. What do you think about that game?
I know that was a good game. I kind of knew the Raiders could maybe pull something out, but that was a really good game to watch. Yeah,
it was good. I won't
Joe
go.
Tarpane, so good.
He is so good. Hey,
I feel like you underrate him a little bit.
Me?
I have him as the number one prop / number two prop, at the moment, this season. But I feel like you've always said you like James Fisher-Harris better and stuff like that.
So this afternoon, I'm talking to a few different fans. I had a Canberra Raiders fan on today, and we were talking about Tarpane, and we talked about this sense of who's the best prop in the game. Like that seems to be a phrase that's uttered a lot in rugby league, and I was talking about how a lot of people obviously perceive Payne Haas as potentially the best prop in the game, just from a sheer talent perspective.
Yeah.
But it's funny, us two as Broncos fans, I don't think either of us have him as the number one prop.
Yeah. I mean, he's in the top three in my opinion.
He's in the top three. I agree. And probably from a sheer talent perspective, he's probably number one.
Yeah.
But obviously, I like James Fisher. I think James Fisher-Harris is the best prop in the game. And I mean, we can talk about Tarpane being really good against Melbourne. James Fisher-Harris was fucking good against the Eels.
Yeah. I just I don't know. I just have Tarpane one, but yeah. They're clearly the top three.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, anything else you want to say about that game?
I mean, it was good just to see Melbourne not proceed, just something different.
Yeah.
Obviously, same with the Roosters, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But
yeah, we'll get to that.
I think Raiders and Sharks are the two teams I'm going for at the moment. So I wanted the Raiders to win.
Yeah, the Raiders. After seeing them win that, I mean, I think I was pretty clear. We did the "We Used to Be Friends" episode, and I think I said that I was going for Melbourne and Souths during that time, during that episode. Obviously, I'm still pretty high on Souths, but after seeing Canberra win that game, and then also talking about the Raiders with my mate Matt, who's also going to feature on this episode. I don't know if I'm going to put him in before or after you. Yeah, I'm a little bit on that Canberra bandwagon now, so I wouldn't be mad. I mean, obviously, the two of us, neither of us want Panthers to win, neither of us want the Cowboys to win. So
yeah.
Anyone else outside of that, I'm pretty much fine with.
Anyways,
we talked a lot about the Melbourne Raiders game, but actually, no, let's leave it. I've talked about some stats from that game and stuff with Maddie. Cowboys versus Sharks. This is obviously a devastating one for the two of us. A devastating one.
Was it 35 seconds left or something, and then Tamalolo gets across the try line? That was just tough to watch.
He was so good that game too. The big pass and everything.
The left to right.
The left to right. Just showing a little bit of everything that's in the bag, apparently.
Yeah.
Did he, over the last few years, there has been a lot of, our friend Tim, big Cowboys fan, he's very high on Tamalolo is the best lock in the game, and we've probably pushed back at that. I'm a bit of a Yo fan. Obviously, Paddy Carrigan's come into his own. I like Cam Murray a lot.
Mm.
But Lolo definitely put in a bit of a week one finals performance.
Yeah, he was so good.
He was really good. Peter Hiku was good.
He was good, yeah.
Drinkwater was obviously really good. Our guy Drinkwater.
Yeah, talent. What a talent.
He is a talent. Little backstory: our mates, like obviously they're two big
that are Cowboys fans.
They're two big Cowboy fans. They make us really not like the Cowboys. They both used to shit on Drinkwater, say he sucked.
Yeah.
Didn't want him on the team. Can we drop Drinkwater? And now he's really come into his own, and he's pretty good, which has been a bit of a win for us.
And this was when he was like the best attacking player on their side, like.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best defense player, but the best attacking player.
Well, he was the most electric attacking player. The thing they didn't like about him was I think he did lead the comp in errors that year, or he was right up there and leading the comp in errors.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not. I saw a list. Have you seen the top 10 errors list for this season?
Yeah, like there's a lot of Broncos in there.
It's
a Mulitalo.
Three of the top. I can't remember who was number one, but three of the top five were Broncos.
And it was like Selwyn, Katoni, Corey Oates.
Was it those three?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was those three.
I couldn't remember who it was, but it was that we had three Broncos in there, and the person that finished second was Reece Walsh, who's coming to the Broncos.
Yeah, so, I saw that. And I think Ronaldo Mulitalo was number one.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah. And Drinkwater wasn't in that top 10, so he's fixed that part of his game up, obviously, and he's playing pretty good footy. But yeah, they got away with the win. Nico Hines was awesome in that game.
Yes,
I'll be honest, I was quite intoxicated throughout this game, so I'm talking just strictly, and I was also pretty distracted catching up with an old friend, but we were watching the game kind of while we were all catching up, talking about old times, and I've went back and I've watched a bit of the game, and I've watched a bit of the condensed game. So that was obviously a loss for us.
It was like tragic.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I was like, they're coming back. Like, it feels like they're kind of like coming back here. And then like, I just felt like they were somehow going to win. Like the Cowboys were going to come. Yeah. Like it just kind of you can just tell it was like going to happen.
Yeah. You obviously, you were probably watching the game pretty intently. I probably didn't have my finger on like the,
momentum and stuff like that.
Momentum and things like that. Yeah, it was just kind of like watching like certain things happening throughout the game. So this is probably the game that I watched the least, and it was probably the one that it wasn't the one I was most excited for, South Roosters, but it was one of the games I was pretty excited about watching, but just happened to fall at the same time as a get together. But yeah, obviously now though the Cowboys are in just a prime opportunity to make it through to the grand final, winning that game. Like they won't have to come up against Melbourne now. If they were to lose, they'd go down, they would have to play the South. And so now it's Sharks South to then go on to versus Penrith. But yeah, the Cowboys are going to get they get a week off, home semi-final. Whichever Sydney-based team or New South Wales-based team wins, they're going to have to travel over the sunny state, right up north, and go to a crowd that is going to be pretty amped.
Just full of hicks.
So that's not, in this endeavor of us to have a winner that's not the Panthers or the Cowboys, currently those two teams are sitting quite lovely. But for me, I think there is a team that can get an upset, and that is the Bunnies. It's going to be tough though. So what did you think of the Bunnies Roosters game?
Sin bin Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it was super
7
exciting
sin bins
to watch. I mean, it was very physical. I mean, some of the sin bins were like ridiculous. Like, but I get like kind of like that's the way the game was going. What was it, Victor Radley, like that first one he got? Like,
it's pretty shit.
Yeah, and then like
even the bird,
like Junior. Oh, the Burgess, like the head high. Yeah,
The
like,
Burgess head high, it just shouldn't be a send off. Like I understand that it was because they happened so like back to back, basically the two high tackles. But the
yeah.
second one, he's like clearly hit the ball first, and then his arms kind of just bounced up and hit the guys. And I can't remember who did he high tackle. I can't even remember. Or was that the
Um,
one on? That wasn't the one on Teddy.
no, I don't think so. Um, I can't remember who that one was on. Or was it Takiaho? Can't remember. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
can't remember. I can't remember either. But it was certainly like a super exciting game of footy. Um,
Yeah,
I can't decide if it was like good or not. It was just chaos.
it was chaos. Yeah, like Tame Mills, Victor Radley getting like sent off twice each.
Yeah.
Like Junior Tartola getting sent off for like rubbing his hand in someone's face. I can't
Yeah,
remember
that
who it
was shit.
was. Like, yeah,
Well,
but it
like,
was fun.
what's the referee's name?
Ashley
Ashley
Klein.
Klein. Yeah, like because you overheard him over the speaker being like, "This game's getting out of hand," so he was like trying to like
Yeah,
gain
yeah.
control of it. But I don't know. I don't know if he made it worse. I don't know what happened. It just there shouldn't have been 7 send offs for
Sent
one.
us, yeah.
Like sin bin, sorry. But yeah. While I was watching it, I was engrossed in it. But like I didn't know if it was like good footy or not. And I've watched
You would
some
have
of
fit
it.
right in that game.
Excuse
Just an
me.
absolute grub. You would have fit right in. Like, you would have been sent off.
Um, but here's the thing about me. Like, so there was
You're
a
a
bit of
grub.
chat. I don't know if it was in our group chat or a different or the other one that I'm in with Tim, our Cowboys friend who is not a Latrell Mitchell fan. I am a Latrell Mitchell fan, and he was like throwing some slander Latrell's way, talking about how he's a grub. Latrell didn't do anything in that game. Like he didn't.
He's physical, but yeah.
And that's the thing is like you can enjoy the niggle, but I don't know. I mean, everyone was getting sent off. Maybe I do get sent off. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
probably.
but I but the amount of things that like kind of weren't send offish, and then I don't know. The intensity was awesome, but the thing is now the Sharks just went to an overtime where they played. Was it how many minutes did they play? It was like
Well, they played
was it
both
ninety
5 minute
three minutes?
halves and then, yeah, went to Golden Point.
Yeah, I think it was a
I don't
90. I
remember.
think it was a
Yeah.
93-minute game, and then obviously the Roosters Bunnies game was just a bloodbath, and the Bunnies came out on top. But yeah, now the Bunnies and Sharks, who have just gone through 2 pretty heated battles, they're now going to come up against each other, and then whoever walks out of that game or limps out of that game goes
Yeah.
on into the Panthers, who are 1 week rested. They're more than 1 week rested, to be honest, because like a lot of the core players in their team barely played the last month of the season, so they're fully
Yeah.
rested. And I mean, when we were talking a bit of pre-final stuff, I was kind of looking at the Eels, going, well, could they upset the Panthers here, just because the Panthers a bunch of the team hadn't played. And I thought
Yeah.
maybe I was talking to a few people about it, and I was saying like I wouldn't be surprised if the first 30 minutes the Eels come out, they're actually in form and put like go into the first 30 minutes up 14-0 or something on the Panthers. But that's definitely not what happened. 7-6 halftime to the Panthers, and then the Panthers just Nathan Cleary put a bit of a
Clinic,
beat
yeah.
down. Yeah. Not great. But yeah, so I guess let's just go tips for this upcoming weekend. Sharks versus the Bunnies. Who have you got?
I'm gonna go with the Sharks. I feel like coming off that loss, I feel like they're gonna be firing. I don't know. I think the Sharks can win it all, maybe, but I don't know. I wouldn't be mad with it's him winning, but I'm gonna tip the Sharks.
Yeah, I'm. Oh, hello, my guy, Vusa Baby, giving me a call. Shout out. I'll have to call him back later. He always
Can I also shout out who I think it must be Liam pouring himself like a bowl of cereal in the
Oh, can you
background or
hear that?
something.
Liam he's making himself a little bit of, what do you got there, Liam? Bit of yogurt. He's going yogurt and cereal at 9:54
I could just
p.m.
tell by the way it was being poured that it was like a Liam pour of cereal as well.
I don't know if Liam will want to respond to that.
Like I know it wasn't Giles. Like that's Liam pouring himself a bowl of Kellogg's.
Max is claiming Liam. Sorry guys, this is my housemate pouring himself some cereal because I'm kind of set up in the kitchen here. But Max is claiming that he can tell it was a Liam pour of cereal just by the sound of it.
Would you like me to show you the size of this bowl?
Yeah, bring it over. Bring the bowl over. Say hello.
It's a big bowl.
Yeah, hang on. No, bring it in. Bring it in. There we go. What do we got here?
We've got milk in there too, man.
I didn't realize that was milk. I just spilt it all over the table.
You thought it was just yogurt and cereal and nothing else.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I thought it was muesli, like a muesli and yogurt, but there was milk in that. I almost poured it everywhere. Good night, Liam. What were we talking about?
Our tips.
Oh,
you were
yes.
going to tip the Rabbitohs because you want the Rabbitohs to win.
I mean, I'm literally fine with whoever wins out of these two emotionally. Love me a bit of Nico Hines and Dale Finucane. Obviously, love me a little bit of Trell Mitt. If I was a betting man, if I enjoyed...
You are a betting man.
If I enjoyed putting a little bit of money into a sports bet, I would be very... I would just find it very tough to bet against Latrell Mitchell right now. Betting against Latrell, betting against Cody Walker. It sucks for them that they don't have Burgess going into this week. Just because he brings, like, you kind of want a guy like him going up against this Sharks team. They got some pretty tough forwards. But yeah, I would put my money on South just because of, I think Latrell right now, the way he's playing, if he stays engaged, like, he's the best player in the comp. And then the other game, what's the other game? Raiders Eels. Where are you going with that one? This is a fun one. It's a fun one.
It's just like two teams that can like play really well, or like they like the Eels are rocks and diamonds, but the Raiders have been playing really well now for like a good stretch.
Before you answer, can I tell you something that I was saying to one of the other guests that I had on? I think there's two, like, if you're going into a finals and I was saying from any sort of, like, if you're playing like D grade basketball, like, or all the way up to obviously like premiership winning NRL side, like, I don't think it matters what sport it is or what grade it is. If you have a sense that you are the most talented, there's like two places you want to be going into a final series. If you are the most talented team, in not an arrogant way, but you just have a confidence about you that we are more talented than this team we're playing, and we know that they know that. So, like, I feel like a lot of the teams going up against the Panthers may feel that way. Like, the Panthers are probably in a position where they might feel that way. The other thing you want to be is the team that just slips into the finals, like the Canberra Raiders, have literally zero pressure from anyone.
They got nothing to lose. Yeah.
There's nothing to lose. They play a brand of footy that's a bit unorthodox, and they can just kind of throw the ball around. And they obviously got a little bit lucky. They got a little bit lucky against Melbourne. Like, Munster couldn't make a conversion. He didn't hit that ball out over the dead ball line. It was a bit of an awkward bounce, but he kind of like, that one got away from him. They scored off that, and they scored the game-winning try off a headbutt.
Yeah.
Like, all these things went Canberra's way, but that's the sort of shit that happens for a team that's like just
Cinderella story.
Cinderella, but they're also just throwing all their chips in. They're just like, we're just going to throw everything in, and whatever happens, happens. And that's kind of like a dangerous way to be, I feel. And not to mention, if they do win this, then they miss out on having to verse. They finished 8th, but they're going to miss out on having to verse the Panthers. And they'll move up to Queensland. And you'd probably rather play North Queensland than the Panthers.
Oh, for sure.
And they're just that team right now where it's like, Stephen A. Smith for ESPN, he always talks about the Warriors when the Warriors were on the come up before they'd won championships and stuff. And he always talked about the Warriors being the fighter's chance because of the 3-ball. If you've got a punch, they might not be the biggest guy, strongest. They might not be the favorites, but when you've got a punch like the 3-ball, you could beat anyone. I feel like the Canberra Raiders have this footy style. They got obviously Tarpanay. They got Jack Whiten, who on his day could be. There was a time where it's is he the best player in the comp? I was saying before, they've got a tough forward pack with some skill in it. They've got a halves pairing that can get a job done, and then they've got a back 5 that there's a lot of X factor around it. So they've got some punches to throw, and they've only got to throw them for the next 2 games. They could find themselves in a grand final. I'm leading towards the Raiders beating the Eels. I think the Eels, the way the last week went, it's just kind of we're doing it again. It feels like they're probably going. If I had to guess, it's more likely that they're going into this week down on confidence, while the Raiders are just riding a.
Yeah, well, the Raiders just beat Melbourne.
And they're just riding a who cares what happens. We're just gonna come out here. We're gonna put our best foot forward, and whatever happens, happens. Because the thing is, if they come out and they kind of choke the Eels a little bit and they score first, then now the Eels are like, oh no, it's happening again, and that's when you start forcing things. And I don't know. That's just how I'm choosing to see it.
I don't know. The Eels have such a good team, though.
It is really good. And I mean, pre the Panthers, it was they're the only teams beat the Panthers. Could they get an upset this week, and could they go on to be the team that wins in the finals? But they now have to win 3 in a row, though, to beat that team. Anyways, is there any more? What were you saying?
I don't know. I'm not even sure who I tipped for that game. It's just, I don't know. I feel like either team could really win. I don't know. I might go with the Eels. I want the Raiders to win, but I just have a feeling that the Eels are going to win. Their team's just so good, so talented.
It is good. And Mitchell Moses and Sean Lane are... Oh, is Sean Lane in? I think he is.
I'm pretty sure he is.
I know Mitchell Moses got named. So
yeah,
that's huge for them. But yeah. Anyways, it's late. Thank you for hopping on. Do you have any more footy you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good for now. Yeah, I already feel depressed enough as it is about the Broncos not making the 8.
Yo, we're gonna dive
into the Cowboys winning.
We're gonna dive into that more. We'll do a Broncos show. That could be fun. I'll come up with a structure. Alrighty. Well, good night. I love you.
All right. Sleep well.
Good night. I love you. Thank you.
Bye.